Is your HOA always this Fairgate Creek? It's 8:07 a.m. when their president, Veronica Blackwell, calls 911 at my driveway claiming our lake is community property. She waves her phone like a badge while my dad, Ray Presley, steps out holding coffee calm as the dispatcher realizes who she's talking to. Radio, click. The same man she reported once ran the county police, and now his badge number sits stamped across her false report. Porch light flick. Next week, their clubhouse door closed early, file stamped, and HOA very, very quiet. Saturday, 8:07 a.m. Diesel breath washes over my gravel drive as Veronica Blackwell lifts her phone and smiles at my camera. She stands with one heel nudged against my metal gate like posing for a brochure. My dad, Ray Presley, 40 years in county police before retirement, folds his arms and watches her stage the call without blinking. 911, she chirps. We have a dangerous situation. A resident is blocking community access. A crow cuts the morning with a dry caw. I steady my breath. The boundary pin beside the post throws a tiny glint in the pale sun. Beyond it hangs the notice on glass. I taped last night, no trespass, private. Doc. Dad reaches without looking and twists the lid on his old thermos. Put it on speaker, he says, voice low. She does, because she wants witnesses. Dispatch, Rockbridge County. A calm voice replies. Dad lifts his lanyard. This is Ray Presley Retired County. Logging the nature of the call matters. Veronica's eyes flick toward him, then back to the lens. This man is preventing rightful community lake access. I keep my tone flat. Name's Marcus Presley. This land is private. Recorded deed. No HOA easement. On my phone screen, a timestamp flickers. Doc Q. Received 0317, dispatch log number RC21A. Ma'am, dispatch says, are you reporting a crime or a civil dispute? A crime, she insists. He's obstructing shared property. Dad doesn't move. Classify it correctly, he says to the air, not to her. Or it never happened. The deputy rolls up slow tires, clicking stones. Two neighbors idle on the shoulder phones already up. The deputy steps out boots, tasting the dust. He looks at my gate, then at the notice, then at Veronica's smile. Morning, he says. Let's keep this calm. Calm is all I want, I say. Procedure, not anger. She points at the lake behind the trees. The HOA has always used that shoreline. Always. Tradition isn't title. Dad says, not unkindly. She laughs like a bell. We have community access. It's documented. Show it, I say. Her jaw flexes. She pivots. Officer, this is harassment. I'm requesting immediate removal of the gate. Classification first, Dad says. Call type. The deputy keys his radio. Dispatch confirm call type for log RC21A. I slide a manila folder from under my arm and open it so the camera can see the seal. The page smells faintly of powdered paper and long drawers. Presley Family Deed. 1978. Purchase updated survey. 2 years ago. No recorded easement. No shared rights. The county clerk can confirm in one phone call. Veronica sets her jaw. He's grandstanding to intimidate a community servant. Ma'am, the deputy says I haven't made findings yet. That's fine, I say. I'm here to help you make the right ones. The chain on the gate settles with a soft clink in the autumn chill. A leaf skates under the fence and sticks to a damp rut. Someone's truck idles upwind, and the smell of diesel drags across the ditch. My mouth is dry and clean at the same time the way it felt on the apron outside a firehouse at dawn. Veronica lifts her chin. Officer, I'm advising you that this obstruction depresses neighborhood values and creates risk. We pay dues for lake access. Where's the instrument that grants that I ask? Her smile freezes a degree. We have long-standing use. That's enough. Dad's voice is steady measured and the deputy hears it first. Long-standing use can't invent title. Call it civil. Dispatch crackles the sound of a fluorescent light waking. Unit 21 Log RC21A is classified civil property claim. No public access recorded for that parcel. Veronica blinks just once. She tries to square it with her posture and comes up short. If it isn't recorded, it isn't real. I say, loud enough for the phones. A neighbor lowers his lens a hair. Did the county just say, no access? The deputy clears his throat. That's what I heard. Veronica pivots to me, then to the camera, finding her smile again by force. You can't block neighbors from their lake. We've always dock shows we haven't, Dad says. She jabs a finger at the fence post. Then why is the pin right there? Why is the path worn if not for community use? Because my grandfather fished every morning for 40 years, I say. One man can wear a path for a lifetime. The deputy gestures to my folder. May I see that deed? I pass it over and step back so his body camera can catch the embossed crest. He thumbs the pages while the dispatch channel murmurs in his ear. Clerk will need to confirm, he says. Put the clerk on, Dad says. Veronica's voice sours. Officer, I'm the HOA president. I'm asking you to instruct this resident to unlock. You don't instruct law, Dad says. You comply with it. A crow lifts from the pin oak and lands again impatient. The gate creaks as the breeze turns the chain. I feel my pulse steady, not rising, finding the same metronome I used to find before stepping into a hot door air mask on mind clear as glass. The deputy hands the folder back. We'll ring the clerk. Put her on speaker, I say. His radio chirps. Clerk, office connected. A crisp voice fills the quiet. Records. This is Deputy Klein. Need to confirm public or HOA easement on parcel ending 718. Stand by, the clerk says. Paper skids, a drawer clatters, and a quick breath crosses the speaker as if the entire county has leaned forward together. We wait. Veronica's SUV ticks in the chill. My dad watches the horizon, not her. Deputy, the clerk returns. No easements recorded granting HOA or public access to parcel 718. None as of the last filing. The deputy nods like he expected to nod all along. Copy. Veronica presses the edge of her phone so hard the case whitens. That's an error. Errors get corrected, I say. But they start as errors in ink, not in memory. She looks past the fence toward the water, toward the dock that isn't visible from here, but lives in every line of my deed. I lower my phone for one breath and hear the soft world she keeps trying to drown with noise, a crow complaining, a chain settling the tiny squeak of the gate's hinge as the wind turns. Deputy, she says finally, voice tight, we're going to revisit the survey. Revisit anything you like, Dad says. But today, the record stands. Her eyes cut to mine. You cannot block community access. The deputy lifts his mic as if to speak, but dispatch beats him to it, cool and final. Doc, Q, received 0317 call log. You can't block community access, she says again, louder for the neighbors and their phones. I let the silence hold one clean beat. Then I raise the folder so the seal catches the morning. It's not blocked, I say. It's owned. The cameras drink the line and the crow starts talking again like it's impatient for the next chapter. The diner bell gives a dull ring as we step inside. Bacon grease hangs thick in the air, a scent that's comfort and warning all at once. Chrome stools catch the weak morning light. Veronica Blackwell already has her spot, middle booth pressed blazer phone face up. Beside her sits a man in a tan suit who looks allergic to dust and daylight. She waves her cup toward us like she's chairing a meeting, not a public breakfast. "Mr. Presley," she says sweetly, "thought we might clear the air." Dad slides onto the opposite stool and taps the menu, one's eyes never leaving hers. "You had dispatch log RC21A yesterday." Clear enough. The consultant smiles thinly. "Misunderstanding. What we have is historic use. This community's always accessed that lake through your parcel. I order coffee just to buy the moment. Historic use, I repeat. Interesting phrase." He nods as if teaching. Common law recognizes neighborly precedent. It's about good faith. Dad stirs his coffee slow circles. Precedent needs a document to live past rumor. Behind us, the diner printer hums. The clerk at the counter glances up. A paper curls out header. Bold easement index, R1207, none recorded. The sound slices through the morning like a judge's gavel. Veronica forces a smile. "That's one version of the record. It's the version I say, signed and time-stamped." "Records can lag," the consultant says quickly. "Sometimes filings aren't digitized." Dad raises an eyebrow. "Then cite the physical file." The man's throat bobs. "I'd have to check." "Call the clerk, I say." "We'll wait." The waitress pours another round, pretending not to listen but not leaving either. The bacon hiss lowers a slow fade that feels like someone turning down the world to hear the truth better. Veronica presses her phone. "County Clerk, please, this is Veronica Blackwell, HOA President. We need confirmation on access rights for Parcel 718. The speaker crackles. "Records Department. This is about the HOA's historic use. Can you confirm a standing easement paper Russell's keys click?" "No easement recorded to the HOA," the clerk says flatly. "That's under Statute 1207. Certificate of no easement available on request." Dad leans forward. "Send it to the diner fax." There's a pause. "Sending now." The consultant blinks. "Fax. You can't just—" A shrill ding breaks the air. The printer spits out a fresh page, warm, ink-smelling certificate of no easement found, via counter 1207. Filed 9:42 a.m. The diner goes quiet. Even the grill takes a breath. Veronica's knuckles whiten around her phone. Tradition isn't title. I say, sliding the paper across the counter. The line lands like a closing argument. A murmur ripples through the booths, half approval, half disbelief. Someone at the bulletin board snaps a photo of the certificate beside a lost dog flyer. The smell of bacon lingers thin now like the last defense of a fading claim. Veronica stands chair legs shrieking. "This isn't over," she says. Dad sips his coffee. That's what the record always says right before it closes. The consultant gathers his papers fast, muttering about review committees. The printer cools with a metallic sigh. I watch the certificate flutter in the small gust their exit leaves behind. Outside, the reflection in the window catches the gate from yesterday, steady, immovable, exactly where it belongs. The records office hums like an old projector. Fluorescents buzz. Microfilm rattles under a gloved finger. Sergeant Daniel Lee leans over the reader and rolls the wheel with two precise flicks, stopping on a parcel map from the 80s. Beside him, Clerk Helen Rowe lifts a clipped packet and checks a yellow TTRO form, line-by-line pen tapping the margin. Dad stands shoulder to shoulder with me. "We do it by paper," he says, quiet as a judge. On the corkboard behind the counter, our timeline blooms in pushpins and twine. Exhibit A through F, printed from the diner fax and yesterday's dispatch screenshots pinned neat beside 911 Elogi RC21A. I set a thin folder on the counter. The deed peeks out crest raised in the light like a small hill. Start with your base, Roe says. Legal description, current survey. Chain of title reference. No commentary, only facts. Lee toggles the microfilm focus. Parcel line holds clean through 97. He glances back at me. People claim tradition when the record doesn't love them back. I spread the diner printouts across the counter edge. Certificate of no easement found, PR 1207. Time-stamped. Roe's pen slows. Good, that's your first exhibit. The court likes chronology. Exhibit A. I say, sliding the certificate under a clear sleeve. 911 call classification, Lee asks without looking away from the screen. Dad answers. Civil property claim. Dispatch confirmed. Put the log as Exhibit B. I pull my phone open the still and watch the red light wink. I'll print the exact frame with timestamp. Lee nods once approval without warmth. He rolls one more frame. There, 1986. Correction. Pin rests here. He taps the screen with a capped pen. Not where Veronica wants it. Roe flips to a clean TTRO form and smooths it flat like a map. Affidavit section, stick to what you personally saw and what you can document. Use the artifacts, not adjectives. I think of the gate chain settling the crow the deputy's radio. Understood. Dad touches my elbow. Write it like you testify with your eyes closed. We move to a side table. Its scarred oak squared edges heavy enough to live through elections. I draft while Roe reads out each blank. Name, parcel date. Incident summary. Lee calls the pins like coordinates at a fire scene. Boundary pin observed at northeast corner, he says. Visible on 86, correction 97, confirmation 13, digitization. Roe looks up. Any sign of tampering? Not before yesterday, I say. Today, I'll check again. She scribbles a note. Add a line that you will supplement with any change in physical markers. I staple the diner certificate behind the affidavit draft and line up the corners the way Grandpa taught me to line flint and steel. Roe uses a ruler to underline the caption, Exhibit a certificate of no easement. The stamp pad sits ready. Ink dark as a storm front. Lee finally steps back from the microfilm and the machine sighs. Once you file, it's on record, he says. Rumor dies on the steps. The office door hisses as someone exits and we catch a second of courthouse air. Dry, paper-scented, permanent. Roe rewinds the thread of our request. Temporary trespass. Restraining order, she recites. Grounds repeated entry or attempted entry without lawful right public safety concern due to escalating confrontation, preservation of status quo until adjudication. You want the judge to see order, not anger. I exhale through my teeth. Order's what I have left. Order is enough, Roe says. We break for one silent beat. The fluorescent buzz steadies then dims as a cloud crosses the high windows. A camera shutter clicks from the front desk where the clerk on duty captures our board for the file. Stamp, hiss, brief and soft as someone marks a motor vehicle form in the next line. Let's pull a clean parcel map for Exhibit C, Lee says. Then we'll overlay the pin correction in red. Roe hands me a blank for Exhibit D. MLS screenshots where she advertised lake access. Dates visible. No commentary. I've got them, I say, flipping open my phone. Thumb, tap, print. The small laser unit spits out pages with a metallic cough. Veronica's prose sits smug and glossy exclusive community lakefront private dock privileges. All of it neat, confident wrong. Ro doesn't flinch. We don't care about tone, she says. Care about the claim and the date. Dad points to the board. Exhibits A through F. Keep them separate. The judge reads quicker than you think. We finish the affidavit. Ro reads it back to me in a voice that could cut glass. I correct a comma and a stray my that smells like commentary. We all initial the correction. I feel my pulse slow into the rhythm of paperwork gather stack bind stamp. It's not adrenaline, it's ballast. Lee glances at Dad's hands. You still roll your sleeves twice, he says. Habit, Dad replies. Keeps the cuffs clean when ink runs. Rose smiles without showing teeth. All right, she says, sliding the stack into a jacket with a clear front. Affidavit with A through D. We'll hold Exhibit E for the body cam transcript time codes. Exhibit F reserved for any tampering evidence if pins vanish. They won't. I start, then catch myself and tighten the edge of the folder. If they do, I'll document. Rose signs her name in a practiced arc and aligns the TTRO under the seal. She checks every box again, lips moving without sound. Then she lifts the stamp. Ready, she asks. I nod, because there's nothing else to do. The seal comes down with a firm, even press. TTRO, ready to file. The embossed crest rises through the paper like a relief map. For one breath, the room is only ink and fiber and authority. Then the sound returns the fluorescent buzz, the microfilm carriage clicking to a stop, the front bell's faint chime. Take this to the clerk's counter, Rose says. They'll docket it and give you the case number. Keep your packet flat. No coffee rings. Copy, Dad says. Lee tucks a photocopy under his arm. I'll walk you to the counter. He pauses, eyes on the window that faces the courthouse lawn. Marcus, keep decision and evidence married. You don't win by out-shouting. I know I say, we're not here to humiliate anyone, Dad adds. We're here to restore the line. Lee half smiles, which is as far as he goes. He taps the top sheet with one knuckle, careful not to smudge the seal. Paper out, City Hall smells like toner and floor wax. We stand under a humming exit sign while Clerk Rowe cues the playback. The body cam window fills her monitor blue timestamp stacked in the corner like a quiet witness. She scrubs the wheel, then stops at the frame she marked. 0315. Rowe says, Listen. Veronica's voice crackles from the tiny speaker, crisp as frost. Shared access, she tells the deputy, chin-high eyes set past the lens. The deputy answers off-screen neutral. Dad leans in just enough to hear without touching anything. Freeze it, he says. Rowe taps the space bar. The image locks. The number blinks 0315. She drags a time ruler onto the screen and prints the still. When the page slides out, she caps it with a small square stamp. Time index confirmed. The ink gleams wet. I set our jacket on her counter. The TTRO sits on top edges, sharp seal raised. Rowe checks the docket sheet, aligns the corners, and lifts a heavier stamp. Per 412-07, she says voice level, temporary trespass restraining order is filed. The stamp drops with a steady thunk. The sound travels down the hallway like a gavel falling in a slow-motion courtroom. For a beat, we hear nothing else. Then, phones buzz again. Doors sigh, and the day resumes around a new fact. Who takes service? Dad asks. HOA, Vice President Rowe says. President is recused for conflict. She nods to the corridor. He's in conference room B. We find him by the bulletin board where bake sale posters wrestle with lost pet tabs. He's middle height, careful hair, less careful tie. Two residents in work boots flank the door, their phones already set to record. "Afternoon," I say. "We're here to serve formal notice." He peers at the packet and at our faces. "Is this necessary?" "It's procedure," Dad says. "Procedure keeps people from shouting." I slide the jacket open so he can see the top page without touching it. TTRO, filed and docketed. Exhibits A through F behind. We'll add G after site check. He glances toward Ro, who has followed us with the acknowledgement form and a carbon pad. "Sign here to confirm service," she says. He reads the short lines like they're long ones. "This doesn't decide anything correct. It preserves what exists." Ro answers. "You'll have your say at hearing." He takes the pen. His hand shakes a little, not with anger, but with the weight of official ink. He signs acknowledgement of service in a practiced cursive and hands the pen back without looking at me. "Thank you," I say. "We'll be brief at the lake." At dusk, the wind freshens off the water and carries the bite of wet leaves. We angle our cameras to catch the shoreline. The light turns the lake the color of pewter. The grass just beyond the oak is scuffed bald. I walk to the northeast corner where the pin should rise flush with the root. Dad hangs back facing the road profile, aimed at nothing and everything. I kneel and find only a small empty cut through clay, perfectly round clean, like a new socket. "Missing," I say. "Fresh," Dad says, because he was going to say it if I didn't. One of the residents crouches beside me, lens low. "Get the hole," he tells his phone. "Get the clean edges." The second pans to the next corner. Same here. I lift a fingertip to the rim and stop short of touching. Photograph, then measure. I read the rule into camera and hold it steady until the numbers are obvious to someone who wasn't here. Breath shows in the air as small fog. Somewhere out on the lake, a gull saws the quiet with one flat cry. Ro notes the time against the TTRO number. "Exhibit G," she says, writing it on a sticky flag. Pin voids northeast and west. "Time codes don't take sides," Dad says. It isn't reproach. It's a reminder to the darkness that we'll still be here when it clears. We back the shots with a wide angle that shows the oak, the fence, the water, the tracking light on my gate. The two residents trade places without talking. I can hear their boots find the same prints over and over, wearing a pattern already cut by years of habit. "Hold the frame," I tell them. Then pan to the notice. We turn as a soft lake wind flicks the edge of the no trespass sheet on my glass. The corner lifts and settles. Lifts again. The microphones drink the whisper. "Set the time," Ro says. Her phone chirps as the metadata lands. A truck door thunks on the road behind us. The HOA vice president has followed at a distance, arms folded, face unreadable. He doesn't step onto the grass. He doesn't need to. "You served me," he says, not hostile. "What next?" "Public hearing," I answer. "We'll present the record. You'll present yours." He swallows. "We don't want to fight." "Then don't make one," Dad says, still watching the tree line. Ro caps her pen. "Back to City Hall," she says. "We've got a slot to confirm." The hallway again warm after the lake's damp edge. We step into the clerk's office. Ro checks a calendar already heavy with pins and calls. A door opens down the hall and voices spill out, complaining about parking, about leaves and gutters, about everything except the one thing that will decide the night. "Agenda?" I ask. Ro looks up at me with a small tired smile and taps the sheet. "Public meeting. Tonight." She prints the agenda strip and tears it clean. The edges are hot and curl a little under her thumb. We move to the bulletin board where the bake sale has lost half its tabs and the lost dog is probably home by now. I take the tack from the tray. It's too small for the job and perfect anyway. I press the paper against cork. "Say it," Dad says, because he knows a line needs to land where everyone can hear it. I read it out loud once for us and once for the cameras. Public meeting tonight, 6 p.m. The wind from the door lifts the corner and lays it down like the board is breathing. Someone in the hallway stops and stares at the notice, then at us. Then at the seal glinting on the TTRO jacket under my arm. I feel the moment fix in place. Nothing dramatic, just a line item, just the next step, just enough. Lives noise, he says quietly. The Pine Ridge Center hums under cheap fluorescent light. Folding chairs fill every row. The HOA banner trembles over the podium. The smell of burned coffee mixes with wax and anxiety. My dad adjusts the phone rig behind me, one hand steady on the tripod. The TTRO folder, Pierre 1207, rests beneath the podium lamp. I cue the slides. The deed flashes across the screen, seal bright as a badge. Veronica Blackwell walks in late red blazer smile rehearsed. A local reporter raises her mic. Sergeant Lee leans against the wall, arms crossed. We'll start with the record, I say. Phones lift. The first slide. Certificate of no easement found, 412-07. Administrative delay. Veronica answers. Paperwork lags. Then we anchor with the call. I reply. The 911 audio plays a civil property claim. No public access recorded. She stiffens. I misspoke. Lee steps forward. The record confirms misuse of service. A low ripple of voices slides through the crowd. The banner flutters again. Exhibit C. I continue. Parcel map, pin positions. The projector shows red circles and 2 clean holes. Exhibit G missing pins. Veronica grips the table. We pursued community access in good faith. Then show the instrument, I say. Silence. The fluorescent hum fills the hall. A neighbor coughs. Dad's rig keeps rolling. The HOA vice president rises from the front row. We never saw a deed granting access, he says quietly. Veronica turns, caught between defense and disbelief. You signed the welcome letters. We trusted your wording, he answers. I switch to the MLS slide. Private doc privileges. Dates in the corners like fingerprints. The reporter's pen clicks. Ms. Blackwell, did you advertise rights not recorded? Her voice thins. That language is standard for lifestyle listings. Lee doesn't move. Not under Harter 12-07. Applause starts as one clap, then several. It isn't loud, it's certain. Veronica looks down at the table. The red reflection of the projector colors her hands. I steady the mic. Tonight isn't about punishment. It's about acknowledgement. She exhales. Fine, she mutters. Maybe I exaggerated. The reporter mouths to her cameraman, that's our headline. Lee nods once. Let the minutes reflect her statement. The clerk writes pen scratching the quiet. I project the deed again. The crest glows under the hum. The order preserves the boundary, I say. No one crosses without law. A woman in the back asks, what about our fees? Refunds come later, I answer. Truth comes first. The vice president nods. We'll review them publicly. People murmur relief, edging disbelief. The hall smells less of coffee now, more of dust and calm. Veronica lifts her eyes. Let the record show some listings were inaccurate. The reporter's camera light steadies on her face. No one claps. The silence itself feels like a verdict. I close the folder and meet the lens. Finally, someone fought back. The words settle heavier than sound. Dad lowers the camera a fraction. The banner flutters one last time. The projector fades to the last slide. The seal, the statute, number the deed. Paper outlives noise, I say. The mic hum holds for a heartbeat, then dies. Morning settles over the lake in a slow silver sheet. Mist clings to the waterline and drifts around the posts like smoke with nowhere to go. The sheriff's SUV idles by the gravel turnoff lights' muted engine ticking. I stand beside Dad near the gate where this all began. The sheriff steps forward, folder under one arm badge catching the first touch of sunlight. He unfolds the injunction, clears his throat, and the paper trembles once not from wind, but weight. Injunction granted, he reads voice carrying across the quiet. Faildio 4. 22. This morning under Cater 1207. Respondent shall refrain from entry pending full adjudication. Veronica stands 10 feet back, arms crossed, face unreadable. The sheriff holds the page steady so everyone can see the seal. Gold edges glint. The courthouse stamp looks almost alive. The court's order replaces prior claims of access. He continues. Physical custody of the gate and lock reverts to deed holder Marcus Presley. I step forward, palms dry, but heartbeat loud enough to count. He nods once firm and turns to the hardware truck parked by the fence. Let's get this done. The mechanic, a local man in a tan cap, unhooks his tool belt and kneels by the post. The metal clinks sharp in the still air. The old lock comes free with a soft groan. I watch it drop into the box like a chapter ending mid-sentence. From the corner of my eye, I see Veronica lower her phone. No press now, no banner, just the faint click as she pockets it. Susan, the HOA treasurer, steps closer, papers in hand. We'll audit every access fee, she says quietly. Anything tied to lake privilege will be refunded. Dad nods. That's fair. The sheriff signs a small clipboard key custody log and passes it to me. One line waits blank, the kind of line that decides who holds authority. My pen doesn't shake. I sign, clean the ink, biting deep into the fiber. The sheriff watches, then tears the carbon slip and folds it into the injunction folder. Transfer complete, he says. From behind the crowd, a few claps start hesitant, then build. By the third echo, it's everyone. No speeches, just the sound of agreement, simple and human. The hardware man stands holding a new brass lock. Ready, I nod. The sheriff holds the gate steady as the man fits it in place. The click rings sharp as a camera shutter. Padlock secured. Gate sealed. The mist moves past us like an exhale. Keys, the sheriff says. He places 2 in my palm. Cold, heavy, balanced. Your primary custodian. Keep 1 at City Hall if you prefer redundancy. The seal weighs more than the megaphone, Dad murmurs. That's about right, I answer. Susan steps closer, tucking her ledger under her arm. This doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. People will calm once the refunds go out. They'll remember the order more than the noise I say. Veronica's voice cuts the quiet. I didn't think it would end like this. It isn't the end, I tell her. It's the record catching up. The sheriff closes his folder. We're done here. He gestures to the road where his SUV waits. The crowd begins to disperse. Boots crunching gravel, quiet goodbyes, a few handshakes that mean more than they say. I linger by the gate. The padlock gleams small and absolute. The chain doesn't rattle anymore. It just hangs solid and sure. Dad looks at the water. You hear that a gull cuts the air. One clean cry over the lake. The sound is so thin and distant, it feels ceremonial. From somewhere behind us, a child tugs his mother's sleeve. Does that mean it's ours again? She smiles. Yes, baby. It means it was always ours. I glance down at the keys. Metal cools slowly, the weight real in my hand. The sheriff's SUV pulls away, leaving a brief trail of dust that settles back where it belongs. The residents drift off toward the community board where a refund notice already flaps in the breeze. Susan pins a new line under it, audit ongoing. Results public. I walk to the gate and rest my palm against the post. It's still damp from the mist, but the wood feels stronger now. Maybe it's me that's changed. Dad shoulders the camera bag. You done filming? Yeah, I say. The footage won't matter after today. He grins. Maybe not, but it's proof when people forget. The padlock shines once more as sunlight breaks fully across the lake. I turn the key until it clicks one last small sound of justice landing where it should. For a long second, nobody speaks. Just the rustle of trees, the sigh of the gate settling into its hinges, and the slow retreat of voices up the road. It's quiet enough to hear the world balance itself again. The hall smells like paper and coffee. Night leans against the window's soft blue beyond the blinds. The fluorescent tubes hum steady and low like a clock that doesn't care who listens. The microphone on the podium still glows red. Nobody speaks yet. The president's chair sits empty, its brass nameplate gone. A folded cloth covers the plaque beside it. A single fan turns slow in the corner, stirring the smell of cardboard and sugar. People line up by the side table, each holding a claim form. The sheriff's injunction copy rests under a clear cover on the bulletin board. The print is neat, the seal bright. Every person who signs the refund sheet glances at it as if the paper itself steadies them. Susan stands at the podium. Her voice sounds smaller, without a microphone, but it carries. These reimbursements are being issued from the HOA's discretionary fund, she says. Checks will be available next week, processed by the clerk's office. Clerk Rowe nods from the table, flipping through a stack of receipts. His pen moves with careful rhythm, each line verified. Sign and date. I stand near the back beside Sergeant Lee. His uniform jacket hangs open, his ties half loosened. He looks like a man who stayed one meeting too long and still won't leave until it's done right. Susan clears her throat. I can't undo what happened, but I can return what wasn't ours. For a second, the room doesn't move. Then, someone claps once, then another, until it becomes a small wave, 3 seconds, no more. The sound folds neatly into the hum of the lights. Justice lives on paper and people, Lee says quietly beside me. That's your new motto, I ask. He half smiles. Borrowed from your dad. The coffee urn hisses. A neighbor slides a form forward. Clerk Rowe stamps it, received 2042. The ink shines wet, then dulls. A few more residents line up murmuring thanks no one asks for. Near the podium, Susan hesitates. There's one last thing she says. The board plaque will install it tomorrow morning. It'll read, Community Restored 2024. Rowe gestures to the wrapped plaque. Ready for morning, he confirms. I step forward a few rows. If we've learned anything, it's that a gate can divide or define, I say. Tonight it defined us the right way. Susan looks relieved. You think they'll come back? Some will, I answer. Some won't. But the record will. A faint hum fills the pause, just the lights and the sound of chairs shifting. People start to move again slower now. No rush to leave. Just the quiet rhythm of forms, signed pages, stacked voices low. The plaque cloth slips a little. Brass gleams underneath. I fix it back gently. Keep it covered till sunrise, I tell Rowe. Let the ink dry first. He nods. It'll mean more in daylight. Lee leans on the wall, arms crossed. You ever think quiet could feel like victory? I nod. Silence can be justice breathing. He grins. That line's gonna outlive you. The last resident leaves door closing slow. The urn clicks off. Steam curls and disappears. The hall smells like paper again. I look once more at the empty chair, then at the folded cloth. For the first time since this began, it doesn't look hollow. It looks waiting. Dad's not here tonight, but I can almost hear his voice. Keep your proof close. Let it speak when you don't have to. Lee checks his watch. You heading out? In a minute, I say. I just want to hear it one more time. Hear what the sound of things being right. He doesn't answer. He just stands there listening too. The hum stays steady, not proud, not loud, just certain. Outside, the wind shifts. The flag on the pole moves once, then stills. Inside, we pack up papers, wipe the table, and lock the door from the inside. The hallway lights dim behind us. The sign on the bulletin board catches the last flicker, public record filed 12/07. I take a breath deep enough to feel it in my ribs. Justice doesn't cheer. It settles. Dawn unravels across the lake in thin bands of gold and mist. The dock glows faintly under the early light board's dry rope coiled neat. The air smells of cedar and dew, not tension. Clerk Rowe stands beside me, clipboard under one arm, clear sleeve in hand. The plastic catches sunlight as he extends it forward. Transfer/access order. Filed and final, he says. The paper feels warm, smooth heavier than it should. My reflection blurs in the sleeve. From behind us, kids laugh. Fishing lines whistle through the quiet bobbers plopping against the ripples. The plaque by the post still wears its cloth-draped corners held with brass tacks. Sergeant Lee arrives with coffee and that same slow calm he carried since the first hearing. Paper outlives noise. He says again, smiling now. Dad's not far. He stands by the truck camera lowered but ready. He gives me a small nod that says everything words don't need. Sign here, Rose says, holding out the pen. Custody confirmed, public access closed per 12/07. The pen tip scratches. The ink sinks into the line. Seal applied 06/11. Nearby, the reporter adjusts her mic voice, soft but sure. We're live from Pine Ridge Lake, where the Presley property has been officially restored following a months-long dispute with the local HOA. Her words drift with the morning breeze. Justice served at sunrise. I glance toward the dock. A few residents stand together, faces easy, hands in jacket pockets. Nobody argues. Nobody hides. The reflection of the gate shimmers on the water, no longer dividing anything. Rowe checks the final box on his form, then looks up. You did it right, he says. Couldn't have done it without the record, I answer. Sergeant Lee chuckles. Or without patience. That's rarer these days. The plaque waits on its stand, still draped. Susan from the HOA walks forward carrying a small pair of scissors. We thought you should have the honor, she says quietly. I pull the cloth free. The metal gleams in the soft light. Presley Legacy Dock Community Restored 2024. For a long second, no one says a word. The water hushes against the rocks like a held breath. Dad steps closer, camera rising. Hold there, he says. The shutter clicks once. Rowe stamps the log seal, glowing under the transparent cover. The sound echoes over the water. Final, official, unshakable. Lee gestures toward the plaque. That's what justice looks like, he murmurs. The reporter lowers her mic. It's quiet here, she says. It's supposed to be, I reply. Kids cheer from the dock as one of them reels a small perch from the shallows. The splash sounds like applause. The camera drone hums overhead, rising slow. It catches the dock, the gate, the calm. From above, the property looks whole again, lines drawn, honored, and kept. Rowe closes his folder and tucks it under his arm. You'll get the certified copy in the mail, but this one's yours. I slide the order into a clear frame, set it beside the plaque. The seal catches light and flares gold. Finally, someone fought back. Dad says his voice steady, not loud. The reporter looks at him, then back to her camera. Caption that she tells the cameraman. The drone pulls higher, the reflection widening until lake and sky blur together. The water smooths as if nothing ever cut through it. I watch until the drone becomes a speck, then tuck the keys into my jacket pocket. The metal clinks softly, 2 small notes of closure. The kids run down the dock again. Lee takes a slow sip of coffee. Ro locks the case. Susan lingers eyes on the plaque. "Guess the lake's back to being just a lake," she says. I smile. That's how it started. The morning breeze shifts, lifting the edges of the order in its frame. I press the corner flat. The gold seal flashes once more, proof promise memory. When the last ripple reaches shore, the camera pans wide. The caption fades in white against the light. Finally, someone fought back. The water settles. The hum of the drone fades. Only the lake remains holding everything we reclaimed. The lake is quiet now, sunlight glinting off the brass seal and the new plaque that reads Presley Legacy Dock. The water smells of cedar and calm. The same air that once carried shouting now carries laughter. What started as anger became a lesson in boundaries written, filed, and finally respected. Justice. I learned doesn't shout. It stands firm and lets the record breathe. The ceremony is over, but its echo stays a community mended by truth, not noise. Finally, someone fought back. Share your HOA story below your map might help someone redraw theirs.